Hey everybody, this is Mr. Beckstrom, and this is section 8.2, and today we're going to solve the sides and the angle of a triangle here. So the first thing I want to figure out is what kind of triangle this is as far as one of the four cases that I have. So here we have two angles and we have the side between those two angles. So the out of the four cases, this is the angle side angle. And so it's going to look like this. Angle side angle. So ASA. Notice the S is between the two A's because the side here is between those two angles there. And this is important because depending on which case it is, depends on how many triangles I could possibly have. So because this is the angle side angle, I'm going to have exactly one triangle here. So it's a pretty nice case out of the different cases that I can have. So angle side angle is a pretty straightforward triangle here. So let's go ahead and get to it. So the first thing I can do is pretty much easily just find the third angle. That's usually the first thing I want to do. So angle A is just going to be equal to what, 180 degrees minus my two other angles, right? Minus 50 degrees minus 64 degrees. And that's going to equal, and I can just pull my calculator up for that. So clear, so 180 minus 50 minus 64, and I'm going to get 66 degrees. All right, so that's going to be 66 degrees. Okay, and then I'm going to want to find B and C. I can do either one of those first. Now here's one little rule of thumb. If A turned out to be an approximation for some reason, I don't really want to use approximations if I didn't have to. So I would use the values given in the formulas if I could. But in this case here, C and B are whole numbers, so that means A is going to be a whole number. So it's fine to use A in any of my formulas. But if I end up getting an approximation for something, I kind of want to leave that out of future formulas if possible. That'll make my new values a little bit more accurate. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll find C first here. So the formula for the law of sines says that the sine of big C, which is 50 degrees, over little c, which is what I'm trying to find, is equal to the sine of another angle. So we can do something that we know because we only have one unknown here. So we can do the sine of big A, the sine of big A, which is, we now know what that is, 66 degrees, over little a, which little a will be on the opposite side, which will be 11. So now we have an equation set up, and we can do this with any side and the opposite angle. So now we have an equation here. I can just cross multiply. So C times the sine of 66 degrees is equal to 11 times the sine of 50 degrees. And finally, divide both sides by the sine of 66 degrees. So C is just equal to 11 times the sine of 50 degrees divided by the sine of 66 degrees. All right, and this is going to be approximately, we usually want to go out one more decimal place than what we already have here. So let's go ahead and do, make sure that we are in degrees, which we are. So 11 times the sine of 50 degrees, enter, divided by sine of 66, sine of 66. And, oh, I didn't do 11, I did 1. Excuse me, let me do that again. 11 times the sine of 50. Sine of 50, I thought that didn't look right. Enter, divided by the sine of 66. Sine of 66. So that's going to be 9.2. 9.2. So that is going to be our C here. So little squiggly mark. So 9.2. 9.2. This is equal to 66. And then we want to use or find the final value B. Now remember what we said. We don't want to use this C because that's an approximation in order to find this B. So let's keep using this A here. So I can say the sine, and we'll use this A here. So the sine of 66, that's the sine of A, over little a, which is the other side, is equal to, and then we'll do the B. So that's the sine of 64 degrees over little b here, and we're going to do the same thing. And if we do that, we're going to get little b is equal to 11 times the sine of 64 degrees all over the sine. This is cross multiplying and dividing over the sine of 66 degrees and that's going to approximately be, using the calculator, so 11 times the sine of 64, enter, divided by the sine of 66. 10.8. All right, 10.8. So this one is approximately 10.8. And then one little check that I always like to do at the end of these is one thing that needs to be true is that the longest side needs to be across from the largest angle. The shortest side needs to be across from the smallest angle, and the medium side needs to be across from the medium angle. So I just want to make sure that that's true, because if it's not true, then I made a mistake somewhere. So the longest side is 10.8, and that's across from, the longest side, excuse me, is 11. That's across from the largest angle, which is 66. The smallest side is 9.2. That's across from the smallest angle, 50 degrees. And the medium side is 10.8, and that's across from the middle angle, which is 64 degrees. So at least that checks out. So I didn't, that doesn't mean it's correct, but at least that means I didn't make that error. All right. If y'all have any questions, let me know, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks.